Rabotai, welcome back to another class in HaEzer Halacha series. We are working in Siman Bet in Halacha Aleph. Today, Bezrat Hashem, we're going to try to do the Cham in Sivkat and Aleph, and also the Bash in Sivkat and Aleph and Bet. The Shulchan Aruch in Siman Bet and Halacha Aleph started speaking about that every single person has to try to make sure to marry a wife that is proper for him. We started saying in the Halacha, Lo isa adam isha sheyesh ba shum psul. A person should not marry a woman that has any form of disqualification. Now, Rabotai, if you can jot this word down or write it down, makes it easier for me. The word pisul literally means something which is disqualified. When we say kosher, something that's kosher, something which is qualified. Pisul, something that is disqualified. As we're going to go along, I want to start using the word pisul, pisula, so you guys understand that that means disqualified. The Shulchan Aruch started saying that a guy should not marry any woman that has any form of pisul. Sounds much better, doesn't it? Any form of disqualifications, yeah? Now, when we began the class, we said we're going to start seeing what does that mean. Well, what does it mean that a woman shouldn't have any form of pisul? There's a lot of things, yeah? Is it her modesty level? What is it? Excuse me. Says the Bash in Sivkat and Aleph, right over here, which is the Beis Shmuel, says the Bash in Sivkat and Aleph, Sheyesh ba shum psul. What does that mean? Ha'inu pasul da asur lo. If she has any form of disqualification that is forbidden on him, ha'inu, for example, Mishum chashash mamzer. Because of a concern of mamzerut. If there might be a girl that you're going to get married to, that there is a concern, not that she's a mamzer. I never said that. Says the Bash, maybe there's a concern that she might be a mamzeret. That's considered to be some form of pisul. Rabotai, look how dangerous this is. Or he says chalala lekohen gadol. Or you can have a chalala. A chalala means a girl who's deconsecrated, that she's going to go there and she's going to marry a kohen gadol. Now, Rabotai, over here he says a kohen gadol. If you look into the regular Shulchan Aruch and the Bash, he says over there, O chalala lo kohen also. A chalala is not allowed to marry a kohen. Nevertheless, you can either learn like that or you can either learn like this. Okay, so whichever way you want to go, a chalala is never allowed to marry a kohen, for sure not a kohen gadol. V'chein chai gavna. In any similar situation to this. Says the Beis Shmuel, when the Shulchan Aruch said that every single guy has to be careful to marrying himself a proper wife, do you know what we were speaking about? We were speaking about that this woman should not have any form of pisul in her. Like chashash mamzer. For example, rumors came out that her mother became pregnant from another guy. Or Rabotai, chalala. What's a chalala? What does that mean, deconsecrated girl? Very simple. You have a kohen that marries a divorcee. They have a daughter. That's a chalala. Because a kohen is not allowed to marry a divorcee. Or if a kohen marries a chalala, a woman who is deconsecrated, and now they have another, that's a chalala. Rabotai, same thing. A kohen has certain women that he's not allowed to marry. A divorcee, a chalala, a chalutza, there's certain women that a Kohen is not allowed to get married to. If he does get married to them, their children are going to be Chalalim. Because you have to remember, a Kohen is Kadosh, he's holy. And he can actually make it unholy. And that's to his children. He can also become unholy. But right now we're speaking about his children. Says the Bash, whenever we see the Halacha in the Shulchan Aruch that states, Lo yisa adam isha sheyesh ba shum psul, a man should not marry a woman that has any form of psul. We speak about any concern that she might be chas v'shalom a mamzeret, or she might be a halala. A mamzeret, Rabotai, for sure Kohen is not allowed to get married to her, nor are we allowed to get married to her. Not a Levi, not a Israel. So that's why we're using the mamzer case for a Levi and Israel. A halala case will be allowed to get married to Israel or Levi, but not to a Kohen. So Rabotai, every single disqualification has its own rules, who they're allowed to get married to or not. I'll give you another example. We also have another sect of people that are called Shtukim, As-Sufi. Again, they're Jewish people, understand me correctly. But it's Shtukim, As-Sufi, where the rabbis don't want them even marrying the Jewish people, because they wanted to keep the genealogy of the Jewish people clean. What's a Shtuki? A Shtuki, Rabotai, is very simple. It comes from the word shtuk, be quiet. The son tells the mother, who's my father? She says, shh, be quiet. I don't know. Why she doesn't know? Because the Rabotai, she made herself ownerless. She would allow other men to come to her. She would have relations, and we don't know who the father is. We'll say it might have been a Jew. We'll say the child is Jewish, but we don't know 100% who the child is. We don't know who the father is, because we're trusting the mother. Then you also have an Asufi. What's an Asufi? You find a child in an area. The Gemara Masechet Kiddushin goes on to explain if he's bounded a certain way, if he's hung in a tree a certain way. There's ways you can tell that he's Jewish. Problem is what? We don't know who the mother or the father is over there. Because you have to remember back then, Lo Leinu, when there was famine, Chas v'Shalom, the parents were not able to feed themselves. So now they also had to feed their children. That's going to be a problem. They didn't have the money. It was famine. So what did they do? They would leave it outside hoping somebody's going to pick up the child. Somebody who has money. Somebody who's able to feed the children. So these children are called Asufi. This is another form of disqualification that is not allowed to get married into the Jewish people. Not that they're not Chas v'Shalom, Rabotai, Jewish. They're Jewish. But they have disqualifications. They have pisul in them. We don't want them getting married to the Jewish people. So that's what the Bash says. Whenever we see the Shulchan Aruch that it states a guy should not marry any woman who has a disqualification, he gives us over here 2 examples, and then he says anything similar to this, like I just elaborated. The first one is Chashash Mamzer. If there's a concern that this girl might be a Mamzer, or Chalala Kohen Gadol, or if there's concern that this girl might be a Chalala, and now she wants to marry a Kohen Gadol, or in our situation, in today's day and age, a Kohen, that Rabotai is going to be a problem. She's not going to allow to go ahead and marry him. And anything similar to that. Says the Rama, Kol hanose isha pesula. Anybody who's going to marry a woman who's pasul, again, meaning disqualified, Rabotai, for the sake of the learning, we're going to use one example, a mamzer case. People understand the mamzerut very simple. We're going to stick to that case, but you could also apply to the halal, to a divorcee, to a shtuki, to an asufi, to a natan, to a kuti. Different sects of Jewish people, which I don't want to get into right now. But let's just keep it to the mamzer case, so we're going to be able to understand the halacha better. Anybody who's going to marry a woman who is pasul, mishum mamon. A guy knows that this girl is a mamzeret. He knows. He's in love with her. Why? Because of money, Rabotai. Money speaks today. Says the Rama, Havyan lo banim she'enam mehuganim. He's going to have improper children. They're going to give him Gehenom, Rabotai. These children will take care of these parents. You marry a girl that is unfit for you. You're going to have children that are going to give you Gehenom. Rabotai, you're going to have improper children. Having bad children, Rabotai, are the worst things a person can have. Like the Gemara Masay Barachot says, that the war of Gog and Magog has nothing on having bad children. We're going to see this B'ezrat Hashem. Says the Bash, Isiv Katim Bet, Mishum Amon. Who hadin, the same halacha is going to apply. Hanoseh belo mamon, nami ika oynish. If a person is going to marry a woman, even without the money, even if he's not going after the money, also there is a punishment that's coming to him. Don't think, oh, the Rama said that if I marry a disqualified woman, because of money, that's when it's a problem. But if I marry a disqualified woman, not for money, because I love her, there's going to be no problem. Oh, there's going to be problem. Rabotai, there is going to be punishment. Rabotai, we don't understand. I just want to go back for a second. We don't understand how important this halacha is. Very unfortunate that we close our eyes on these halachot. Very, very unfortunate. I'm just thinking to say it or not, so I'll eventually say it. I just have to make sure that I'm able to put it in the proper words. Rabotai, understand me correctly. I was told that there was a wedding. Again, I don't know who the people are. That there was a wedding. That a rabbi was officiating the wedding. And the mother was a Goya. She was not Jewish. But Rabotai, the family is a very, very wealthy family. Now, I don't know if the guy got married to her because of the money or if he got married to her because he loved her. It doesn't matter. It's asur for us to get married into other people unless they're Jewish. So I was thinking about it, Rabotai, and this bothered me very much. You know why? Because says the halacha, if you have a person that marries a woman who has a pasul, like mamzerut, he's going to have improper children, and the Bash says he's going to be punished. How much more so, Rabotai, do you think the person is going to be punished when he marries a Goya, a non-Jew? I don't care for money or for that money. It doesn't play the role right now. Punishment, Rabotai, is coming to him. What does he think? If this halacha is by Jewish people, and mamzer is Jewish, Rabotai is just a mamzer. In the end, mamzer will become kosher Jews. You should know that in the end. I don't want to get into this. You have to look into Masechet Kiddushin towards the back. Towards the end, it starts speaking about this. They're Jewish. And still the halacha says they're going to have troublesome children. And the Bash says they're going to be punished. Don't think they're not going to be punished. That's by Jewish parents. But Rabotai, when you're dealing with a boy that is marrying a non-Jew, a girl, or the other way around, if you have a Bukharian girl or a Jewish girl that is marrying a non-Jewish boy, Rabotai, needless to say, their punishment is great. I would love to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that these people that officiate the weddings, that they don't know that the girl is not Jewish. I would love to say that, but I can't. Because the halacha does not allow you to make a wedding before you find out 1,000,000% that both the boy and the girl are 1,000,000% kosher. You have to do the research, not Rabotai, not the couple. Forget about the couple for a second. They have to do their due diligence. The rabbi who officiates the wedding, what do you think? The rabbi just walks in with a jomer thinking he's a big shot. That's it. He has an obligation, Rabotai, to make sure that the boy is Jewish, that the girl is Jewish. He has an obligation. If, Rabotai, people that intermarry or people that get married to disqualified people will be punished, how much more so these Rabbanim that go ahead and make these weddings and officiate it? I don't know, for money, that doesn't matter to me. Rabotai, punishment is also coming to them. We can't hide the fact. And the sad part is that you have over there a lot of people with kippah, looking Jewish, and supporting these types of weddings. This is a very, very big problem. Says the Bash in Sivkat and Bet, Hu hadin hanoseh below mamon. Don't think that when the Ramah said that if you marry a woman who's disqualified, that you're going to have improper children and then you're going to be punished. No, even if you marry her, not for the money, Nami ika oinish, you are also going to be punished. Rabotai, we just don't understand. What does it mean to be punished? We think, you're going to slap and that's it. No, Rabotai, a punishment is a punishment. Someday you're not going to be able to come out of it, chas v'shalom. We need to do teshuvah on these things. So if that is the case, if it's applicable to both cases, right? If it's asur for me to marry a disqualified girl, like a mamzer, so why did the Ramah have to say the word mammon, right? If we look back into the Shulchan Aruch, the Shulchan Aruch stated right over here, Kol hanoseh isha pisua mishum mammon. What's pshat? Why did the Ramah have to write to me over here? Anybody who marries a woman who's disqualified because of money, having lobanim sheinim mehuganim, that he's going to have improper children. Why do you have to tell me if I marry her because of money? Even if I wouldn't marry her because of money, it's still asur. So what is the Ramah saying? And this is what the Bash wants to speak about right now. That's what the Bash is trying to clarify. Says the Bash, Eila kavanato, rather his kavana was, do you know when he wrote the money part, he wanted to teach you something else. Eila kavanato lidayek, rather his kavana was, his intent was, that one should make an inference like this. Im noseh isha bishvil mamon, if a person is going to go out and he's going to marry a woman because of money, v'leika ba pisul, and she does not have any disqualification, mishpacha, she doesn't have any pisul in the family, leika isur, there's no prohibition, you're allowed to marry. Like the Ramah himself says on top. Let me go back on top. Here, Rabbi, look right over here. Anybody who marries a disqualified woman because of money, he's going to have children that are going to be improper children. However, otherwise, if she's not disqualified on you, but rather you are marrying her because of money, mutar, you're allowed to get married to her. Right over there, Rabotai. That's all he wanted to tell you. He was just trying to teach you the reason why he used money initially by a Pesul girl, because he wanted to tell you that if you're not marrying a Pesul girl and you want to marry her because of money, you're allowed to do it. He's telling you it's mutar. He's not telling you that's ideal, that's what you want to do. He's just letting you know that it's permissible. It's not a prohibition, that's all. And that's what the Bash is telling us right over here. Rather, his intent was to be particular. If he's going to marry a woman because of money, and she has no disqualification in the family, there's no prohibition. That's all he wanted to teach you. But not to say, oh, the reason why the Ramah said you're not allowed to marry a disqualified woman is because of the money. No. Oh, but if it wasn't for the money, I'm allowed to marry her. No. Chas v'shalom to think like that. Marrying a disqualified woman is asur. So why did the Ramah have to say you shouldn't marry a disqualified woman for money? Because he wanted to teach you the next case. That if you want to marry a woman who's not disqualified, but for money, you're allowed to do so. There's no prohibition. But now I have another problem. Why? Well, it says the Bash, but what the Ramah wrote next to this halacha, she'en mamonu shel yosher, that the money that the husband gets is not upright money. So you're understanding maybe, there is a problem. There is a prohibition of marrying a girl for money. Let me just go back. Let me show you this Ramah. So let's do this. Let's read from over here. We'll go straight down to what we want to see right now. Call on, let's say, anybody who's going to marry a pasul woman because of money, he's going to have improper children. But otherwise, but if she's not pasul on you, but you just want to marry because, she has a lot of money, mutar. So now we're going to go straight to what we want to see right now in the Bash. If somebody was set, if they gave somebody a lot of money, a very large dowry, for the engagement, to get engaged with this girl, so he was very happy, right? So he took the offer, but then they retracted. We can't afford it, they said. Lo ya'agen kalato. He should not hold his kala hostage. Lo ya'agen kalato. He should not hold his kala, his future wife to be. He shouldn't hold her as a hostage. Mishum ze, because of this, because of the fact that they don't want to give you the dowry. V'lo yitkotet ba'avur nichasei ishto, and do not argue because of the assets of your wife. Umi shoseken, and anyone who's going to do so, eino matzliach, he's not going to be successful. Ve'en zivugo oleyafe, he's not going to have a good relationship. Why? Here we go. And this is what we want to see. Ki hamamon sh'adam lokech im ishto, because the money that a person takes that comes with his wife, eino mamon shel yosher, it is not upright money. So Rabotai, we're understanding over here that if a person gets married because of money, it's not upright money, meaning there is some trace of prohibition. What does it mean, not upright money? When people steal, you say it's not upright money. Says the Bash. No, don't understand it that way. Why is this, Rabotai? Let's do this one more time. Right? So we explain that if a person wants to go and he wants to marry a girl that has no disqualification in her family, there's no prohibition. If there's no prohibition, why did the Rama write that if I marry a girl and I'm taking the money that's coming with it, it's not upright money, which sounds as if there is a prohibition. So that's what the Bash says, this is what he wrote, close to this other halacha, that it's not upright money. I know what she means to say like this. When are we going to say it's not upright money? When are we going to say that money resembles prohibited money? When you want to hold her hostage, you're going to say, I'm not going to marry you until your parents give me money. That, Rabuta, is not upright money. That's what he's telling us over here. Because he wants to hold her hostage. He wants to make her wait from marrying him because of the money. That, Rabotai, is not upright money. But if you went ahead and you married a woman for her money, and the family's fine with it, and you're not giving them a problem, that's not a problem, Rabotai. There's no contradiction. That is not a prohibition. And that's what the Bash is telling us over here. The Bash is telling us over here that one is able to go ahead and get married to a woman for money. I'm not telling you ideally, I'm just telling you, if you did do it, there's no prohibition. You're allowed to do it, no problem. But from the Ramah, it seems that maybe I shouldn't do it because it's not upright money. No, it's two different cases. In the first case, where I married the girl for the money, they're not holding back anything from me. And even if they would, I would still get married. So I'm an upright person. I'm not really going after the money. Yeah, I want the money, but if they hold the money back, I'm not going to make problems. So that we're going to tell there's no prohibition. That money is good money. When we speak about over there in the next case that if you're going to go ahead and get married to a girl that's going to come with money, it's not upright money. Over there, it's a different case. Over there, we're speaking about they gave you a dowry and then they took it back. Now you don't want to marry because of the money. That's a problem. That's a problem. That over there, we're going to say it's not upright money. Says the Bash Ken Katav Becham. So to the Chelka Mechokek also wrote this. And we're going to see this even clearer in the language of the Cham right now. Says the Cham right over here. Let's just see this halacha for a second. Right, so we read this whole halacha. Let's do it one more time, Rabotai. Make sure that we have it. If somebody was set a lot of money and then they retracted, do not hold your wife hostage because of that, and do not argue with your wife because of of your wife's assets. Anybody who does this, he's not going to be successful, and his relationship is not going to be successful. Why? A person that the money that a person takes with his wife is not upright money. Can anybody who does this, anybody who holds his wife as hostage until they give him the money, or until they're going to say we're going to pay you the dowry over some time, or if a person fights over the assets of his wife, mikre, he's called nosei isha l'shem mamon. He's called that he's marrying a woman for the sake of money, which is not a very good thing, Rabotai. Says the Cham, meaning he's called a person who marries woman for money, which is a very big problem. Says the Cham, anybody who does this is called that he's marrying a woman for the sake of money, which is not a healthy thing. So I don't understand. First you tell me it's healthy, and then you tell me it's not healthy. Says the Cham, I'm going to explain to you what I mean. The Cham comes before the Bash. So that's why the Bash said, look into the Cham, because he came first. Even though prior to this, the Rama wrote, as long as she's not pasul on him, you're allowed to get married because of money. And then over here we're saying that if you're fighting over the money, or if you're fighting over the wife's assets, it's not a healthy thing. You call the person who wants to get married to a woman because of money, which is a curse basically, which is wrong. How could it be? It's contradicting. It's not contradicting. Why? He tells us over here, do you know what the Rama meant in the beginning? Which means to say, if the family wants to give you money with a good heart, they want to give it to you willingly. Over there, you're allowed to go, you're allowed to marry the wife. No problem. There's no prohibition. What's the problem? They love the son-in-law. They want to make sure that he's happy. They want to make sure that if we give him money, he's going to be able to take care of our daughter. What's the problem? He's allowed to do it. So really, there's no contradiction. Aval, however, but however, to go ahead and to hold your wife a hostage, to make her wait from marrying you because of this, that is the problem. This word zeh you got to take out. It's not in the Shulchan Aruch. So, aval again kalato b'shul zeh, or to go ahead and to hold your wife hostage, meaning your future to be wife hostage because of the money. Or again atzmo, or to go ahead and hold yourself hostage. Ulehamtin milisa isha, and to wait for marrying a woman. Ad shimtza isha shetitel mamon. Asur, that's asur, Rabotai. Or to go ahead and wait until you're going to get a wife where the family is going to go ahead and is going to give you money, that is asur. Rabotai, look, we have two different scenarios. When the Rama says you're allowed to marry a woman, I'm not saying ideal, I'm just saying that if a guy went out and he got married to a woman and that family has a lot of money, We can tell he's allowed to get married. It's not a curse. It's not a bad thing that he's doing. He's allowed to do it. There's no problem. But then when we say in the next law, where it states over there that if you marry a woman because of the money, it's not a good thing. It's like you're doing something wrong. It's not contradictory. Why? In the first clause, what we're speaking about, when you're marrying a kosher girl for her money, over there because we're speaking about because the family, they want to give you the money willingly. They want to give it to you with a good heart. They love their son-in-law. So you're doing nothing wrong. You're not fighting with them. Even if they don't give you, you're going to be fine with it. Yeah, you're marrying them for that. But if they don't give you, will you break up the marriage? No, you're not going to fight. So that, Rabotai, we're going to tell you is mutar to do. Avala again, but to go ahead and to hold your wife hostage from marrying you, or to hold yourself hostage, to make yourself wait for marrying another girl until you're going to find a rich family, that, Rabotai, is the surah over there. We're going to tell you that is prohibited to do. That one shouldn't do. V'chen siyem be'orchat chaim, and so to the orchat chaim also concluded like that one is not allowed to get married to a woman only because of money in a situation where you're going to either hold the wife hostage or you're going to either hold yourself hostage from marrying until you get a lot of money. That is the surah. But to go and get married to a girl that has a lot of money is mutar. Why? Because over there, Abotai, they want to give it to you willingly. It's not in your end. Yeah, you see they have a lot of money. You want to go get married to them. B'ezrat Hashem, they're going to give it to you. That's up to them. But you're not making any problems. That is the difference. Says the Cham. Here we go, Rabotai. Verabim, Rabotai, the Shidduch crisis. Verabim nichshalim ba'avera. Many people stumble in sin. When we say sin, you know what kind of sin, right? Chas v'shom, Rabotai, zera levatala, spilling semen in vain, sleeping with nidot. Who knows what they're doing today? Verabim nichshalim ba'avera. Many people stumble in sin kishe'enam nosi'im isha b'mehera, when they don't get married to a woman quickly. There is a mitzvah for a man to get married to a woman once you reach the age of 18. What is the wait, Rabotai? Who we're waiting for? Why aren't we looking for our spouse? The Alahem Neymar, and on them it says, Kol anusei isha l'shem mamon v'chulu. Anybody's going to marry a wife for the sake of money, etc. Koloimer, meaning to say, Shaha'ikuv milisa isha b'shvil chamdad mamon gorem lo lo'olid banim zarim. This, that a person holds himself back from marrying a girl because of his lust, because of his love for money, causes him to bear strange children. Now, Rabotai, I just remembered something. I should have been a little bit more clear with this from the onset. Whenever we use the terminology over here, whenever we say over here, Rabotai, let me just show it to you right over here. This Rabotai right over here, one second. This Rabotai right over here is very critical to know, because what were we saying the whole time? Whenever you have a guy that fights with his wife for money, or for the dowry, or because of her assets, whatever it's going to be, we're going to apply to him this verse of Kol Isha Pisula Mishum Mamon Havilo Banim She'enim Mehuganim. He's also going to have improper children, even though he's marrying a kosher girl, because we don't want you to fight with her. But Rabotai, if you look into Masechet Kiddushin and Daf Ayin Amur Aleph, this is the whole thing where it's brought down from. Over there, the Gemara says, Amar Rabba bar Rav Ada Amar Rav. Rabba, the son of Rav Ada, son name of Rav, call on to say Isha Lishumamon. Anybody who's going to marry a woman for the sake of money, he's going to have children that are not proper. Like the verse states, they went there and they betrayed Hashem and they gave birth to strange children. That, Rabotai, I think I should have said that right in the beginning, but this is what we want to try to go ahead, and this is what we want to try to see. Whenever you have a person that is marrying a woman, even a Jewish girl, and he's fighting about the money, it's basically a negative, it's a negative look at him from the Torah. And that's what the Cham tells us right over here, Rabotai. That's what the Cham tells us right over here. ועליהם נאמר כל נושא אישה לשם ממון וכולו, etc. כלומר, שהעיכוב מלשא אישה בשביל חמד ממון, גורם לו להוליד בנים זרים. This that he holds himself back from marrying woman because of his lust and his love and his desire for money, it causes him to bring strange children to the world. What does it mean, strange children, Rabotai? You guys can understand, Chas v'Shalom, Rabotai, he can masturbate. He can be with other women, Lo Aleinu. Who knows what he can do? This is why he has to go ahead and he has to get married immediately. So, Rabotai, we see over here, the Bash and the Cham. And that's what the Bash, by the way, meant. This is exactly what the Bash meant. Uma shekatav b'samuch, right? This is what the Ramah wrote later on. She'einu mamon shel yosher, that it's not upright money. Ha'einu k'shirjel again ota b'shul mamon. That specifically, if you, Rabotai, are holding her hostage because of the money, that's what we're going to tell you over there, that it's not upright money. And that's why the Bash said, Ken katav becham. And so too the Cham wrote it. So Rabotai, we're going to just go back for a second right over here. When it says over here, Kol ha-noseh isha p'sula mishum mamon havilo banim she'einu mehuganim, aval b'lav ha'chi she'einu p'sula alav ela she'nosa mishum mamon mutar. Whenever we're telling you over here, the reason why he had to use over here the case of money, of money is only because, Rabotai, he wanted to teach us that if you're marrying a woman who's not disqualified on you, you're allowed to go ahead and marry her because of money. You're going to say, how come he could tell me over here you're allowed to marry her because of money, and over here it tells me anybody who marries her because of money, it's as that pasuk in Masechet Kiddushin, Ba'Hashem Bagdu, Ki Banim Zarim Yoldu, that they betrayed Hashem. How can it be? Very simple. In this case, the Cham and the Bash, they both want to explain. In this case, right over here, Rabotai, we speak about where they want to give him the money willingly. In this case, Rabotai, we want to speak about over here where he is holding either her hostage or himself hostage from marrying until they give him the money. Over there, we're going to tell him that this is wrong and that is not upright money. Okay, now Rabotai, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do Chazara, and B'ezrat Hashem, with that we're going to conclude. Question number 1. What type of woman should a person not marry? Answer. A person should not marry a woman who has a halachic disqualification that makes her forbidden to him. Question number 2. According to the Ramah, what happens to someone who marries a disqualified woman because of money? Answer, he may have children who are not proper. Question number 3. If the woman is permitted to him, but he marries her primarily because of her wealth, is it forbidden? Answer, no. The Ramah rules that if she's not forbidden to him, it is technically permitted to marry her because of money. Question number 4. What if a large dowry was promised and later withdrawn? Answer, the groom should not leave the bride waiting, keeping her hostage because of the money. Question number 5. May a husband fight with his wife over her property or assets? Answer, no. The Ramah strongly condemns doing so. Question number 6. What is the consequence of marrying for money or fighting over money in marriage? Answer, such a person will not succeed and the marriage will not turn out well. Question number 7. According to the Chalkak Mechokek, how do we reconcile the Ramah's statement that marrying for money is permitted with his later criticism where he says that marrying for money is not upright money? Answer, it is permitted if the money is given willingly and the marriage proceeds normally. However, it is forbidden to delay marriage, pressure the bride, or remain unmarried in pursuit of greater wealth. And that was the difference between the two statements in the Ramah. In the original case where he says you are allowed to get married to a girl because of her money, that's when the parents or the in-laws, whatever it's going to be, they're going to want to give you the money willingly. You're not going to make a fight out of it. So that's upright money. However, Rabotai, in the later case where the Rama says that the money is not upright, he's speaking about a situation where they withheld a dowry from you, or you're fighting over the wife's assets. Over there, we're going to tell you that's not upright money. Question number 8. According to the Chalkak Mechokek, which is the Cham Rabotai, just as a reminder, what common mistake do many people do? Answer: they postpone marriage while searching for a wealthier match. Question number 9. What spiritual danger can result from delaying marriage for financial reasons? Answer: the Chalkak Mechokek writes that many stumble into sin because they delay marriage. Chas v'shom Rabotai, spilling semen in vain, sleeping with other girls, watching pornography, and many more sins, Rabotai. Question number 10. According to the Beit Shemuel, what kind of pasul is the Shulchan Aruch discussing? Answer: a halachic disqualification that makes the marriage prohibited, such as a concern of mamzerut or a halala marrying a kohen, etc. We also spoke about shtuki, where the child doesn't know who's his father. We tell him, shtoik, be quiet. Meaning when he asks his mother, who's my father? She says, be quiet. Also we have an asufi, we gathered a child from the street. Again, these children are Jewish, but since we want to keep the genealogy of the Jewish people clean, we don't allow them to get married to the Jewish people. We also have a nasin, a kuti. Okay, Rabotai, so you do have other forms of disqualifications where we, the Jewish people, are not allowed to get married into them. Question number 11. According to the Beit Shemuel, is there punishment for marrying solely for money even when no family disqualification exists? Answer: no, there is no prohibition. You're allowed to go ahead and get married. Question number 12. Why does the Ramah later call such money not money of uprightness? Right? That was the Beit Shemuel. That was this question. Answer: according to the Beit Shemuel, this refers specifically to a case where the groom pressures or delays the marriage to obtain more money. Otherwise, Rabotai, it is permitted. But I'm not saying that it is ideal. Takeaway: marrying for money alone is not inherently forbidden when the woman is otherwise permissible. However, delaying marriage, pressuring the bride's family, or making money the driving factor of the shidduch is strongly condemned by the poskim and can lead to spiritual and practical harm. Now, Rabotai, the next thing we're going to see, what about the whole case of Lishum Mamon, even when you're marrying a Jewish person? This, Rabotai, is brought down from Masechet Kiddushin and Daf Ayin Amur Aleph. Amar Rabba bar Rav Ada Amar Rav. Rabba, the son of Rav Ada, said in the name of Rav, Kol hanosei isha lishum mamon. Anybody who's going to marry a woman for the sake of money. In the Gemara over there, Rabotai, we're speaking about disqualified women. But the important factor over here, we have to know that even when you're marrying a Jewish girl and you're fighting over the money, we're going to apply that same rule that we apply to someone marrying a disqualified girl. We're going to apply that same rule to someone marrying a qualified girl. Still, Rabotai, you're going to have the same problems. You're going to have improper children. Your relationship is not going to be successful because you are fighting over money. Okay, that's what he says over here. Anybody who's going to marry a woman for the sake of money, he's going to have children who are improper. Like the pasuk says, Ba'Hashem Bagdu, they went ahead and they dealt improper with Hashem. They betrayed him. Ki banim zarim yaldu, because they gave birth to strange children. In any event, Rabotai, we see over here, whenever we use the terminology, just want to make sure that this is clear. Whenever we use this terminology over here, it doesn't only apply specifically to disqualified women, it can also apply to a person who argues with his wife, like in this case right over here. If they went there and they set for you a big dowry and then they retracted, Lo yagen kalato mishum zeh. Do not make her a hostage because of that. V'lo yitkotet ba'avur nichsei isho. Do not argue with her because of that. Umisho seken enu matzliach ve'enu zugo ole yafe. Anybody who does this, he's not going to be successful, and his relationship is not going to be successful. Ki hamamon she'adam lokech im ishto enu mamon shel yosher. The money that a person takes with his wife is not upright money. Anybody who does this is called a person that is marrying a woman for the sake of money, Rabotai, meaning to say, just like if a person with that and he married a mamzeret, or a Kohen married a halala, we said that they're going to have improper children and they're not going to have a successful relationship. So to a person who marries a Jewish girl, but he does it through fighting where they're not giving the money wholeheartedly or willingly, we're going to also say that they're going to have improper children and their relationship is not going to be successful. Rabotai, have a great day. Baruch Adonai L'olam. Amen ve'amen.